Welcome to another episode of Distory with Kate and Kirk. My name is Kirk from walruscarp.com, and today we are going to focus on the Tower of Terror's Foxtrot second half. I know, get excited about the Tower of Terror's library. This will finally allow us to exit our safety spiel area and or backstory pre-show area and head on into the boiler room next week. Getting exciting as we get closer and closer to actually riding this thing. But again, remember, we can't be completionists when it comes to these libraries. We dedicated 2 episodes to each one. And with me to dive into the artifacts that we thought were pertinent is Kate, the Disney Cicerone. Kate, yo, what up?
Hey, yeah, I'm so excited to be almost done at the libraries. I'm not gonna lie. It's been a really fun journey. We've seen so many things and learned a lot of objects that people probably didn't know existed in there. So I love the history we've been able to capture in these episodes, but it has been a lot of random artifact research that Kate is ready to move on from. So
that's all it is.
Yeah.
It's like hodgepodgeian craziness. It looks like a Bennigan's in here. There's too much stuff on the walls.
Yeah, but there is some really interesting things this week. Before we hop in, I just want to give just a standard reminder that a lot of the things might have moved around or look different than some of the photos that we're going to show you today, and that's because they are historical photos from 1994. So think of this as a historical record of what existed when this ride originally opened in 1994. And we do try to catch as many changes and updates as possible, but sometimes we miss those. Many thanks to our collaborator for this series, Disney historian Joshua Harris of the E82 Project, who helped us out with so many of the photos and things that you see in the series. You can check out his Disney Park preservation projects at Ep.160.com. So thank you, Joshua, for that.
Epcotlegacy.com. Josh pays us about 45 cents if we say that and sing it that way. So.
Sponsored by Epcotlegacy.com.
Now, you didn't sing it the right way. You got to, if we want 45 cents, Kate, we got to work for it.
I'll let you do the singing for that one.
Epcotlegacy.com. Another 45 cents in the coffers.
Anyway, let's dive in. Just as a reminder of the layout of this library, since it's dark in there when you walk in, and it's a mirror of the other library, which was the Echo Library on the left side. This is the library on the right. Last time we did everything on the right diagonal. So we did the desk, the window, the TV, the table, and the bookcases that are kind of across the way. So today we're going to turn to the left. Kirk's favorite direction is
to the left.
And we're going to do a couple of tables and chairs that are against the wall, the bookcases and the ledge, of course. And we also then have the other wall of the table, the ledges, the bookshelves, and the book stand. So it's basically everything in that L on the left-hand side is where we're going to.
Can I say something real quick?
Of course.
I was taking a ton of pictures for our boiler room episode, and I was taking pictures actually in Foxtrot as well. And a guy came up to me and he goes, "Oh my gosh, I just noticed that they had," and he was talking about the little alien from the episode where the humans are trying to find the giants, and they're not actually aliens. They're just, I think that's a great episode. But this guy kept on talking about like all of his favorite episodes of the Twilight Zone, and he was physically trying to find, and this is the first time I think I've ever seen that, where a guest was audibly looking for and describing items from the Twilight Zone, because he obviously grew up with it. He was an older gentleman. So I thought that was really neat.
Yeah, that's fun. I love that.
Yeah, because the majority of these things really don't tie into a specific episode necessarily. So It's cool. Maybe like the 10 or less items per library that have those connections.
I was just working on a post about some of the Twilight Zone ones in the other library, in the Echo Library, last night, and I pulled so many clips from the Twilight Zone. It took me forever. So I'm secretly hoping that post does well, because I sank so much time into it. So we'll see what happens with that. But
good luck with that, because we don't control nothing.
No, never. That's the name of the game. So, all right.
Yep.
We're going to start here to the left, and I like to keep Kirk on his toes. So the way that I organize this episode is different than the way he organized the previous episode. So we're going to
like much things in Distory, I'll let you steer us around, Kate.
Okay. So We're going to do everything on the floor first that's against this first wall on the left. So you can see here in this picture, that will be a small end table, a couple of lamps, the 2 chairs, a kind of octagonal table that's in the center, and then something on the end as well. Let's dive into that. There's this little table, end table, that is next to the chairs on the left-hand side. And it has a house phone, which we've seen before. And we've heard that there's the Hollywood Tower Hotel logo was on it at one point. I think I took this photo, if memory serves, and you definitely can't see a logo on it now. So if it did exist at one point, it's kind of illegible at this point. You can't read it. But then there's also the newspaper that's the same one we see everywhere in the Tower of Terror, which is the same one that was published the day everyone disappeared on October 31st, 1939. And it is the actual front page of the Los Angeles Examiner from that day in 1939. So we did in the Mahjong table episode, when we first entered into the lobby, we covered that newspaper extensively about what articles are actually on it, including something pretty grisly that is a really interesting connection about a murderess who put some people's parts into suitcases. So
what's in the box? What's in the box?
So in case you want to go back and visit that, there's also what I think is an address book, it looks like to me, with handwritten notes on it. Because it has those like tabs, Kirk, like remember back when we used to have address books? You would actually like
address books.
Brings you back, right? Because it
does.
That's not something we use anymore.
I used to look up video game like EB Toys and Funko Land so that I could try to get the latest Pokemon game. And I would call them up on the phone and be like, hey, can you hold it? And I'd call all the places that were relatively close. I would find the place that had it and would hold it. And then I'd ask my mom if she could take me there.
Yeah.
Kids don't do that now. They just look up, I just go on their website and see if they have it in stock, or I just ship it via Amazon. Yo, bro, that was the good old days.
Yeah, the Yellow Pages, I think it's what you're referring to, right? I think this is not the Yellow Pages. I think this is like an actual address book, almost like it looks like a personal address book, but you would think in a hotel it would be the hotel's address book or directory or something like that. I
guess. Do you think it would be like the internal one that would go to the different departments within the hotel, or because it like wouldn't go to guests because that would have to change all the time?
Yeah,
and it wouldn't be like pertinent information. Like maybe it's like localized, like concierge. Think like local restaurants, or
it could be, but it's
other amenities or something.
The handwritten part throws me off. That's the only.
So do you
thing.
think it's a guests that they left behind?
Yes, maybe. I wish I could tell what the writing is on it. It's completely illegible. I can't read it, and I'm sure that there's some pretty interesting names on there, but I can't read it at all. So it's hard to tell without knowing what is written on there exactly what it goes to.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just doing the bookcase that's behind here because there's just not that many things to talk about the bookcase, but there is this head that's sitting on the bookcase, and I could not figure out the head is on like the upper left inside the bookcase itself. I couldn't figure out what it is. I don't know about you, Kirk, but anytime I try to do an image search with like things that are behind the grating, the weirdest things show up because it puts the grating in the like search. And so it's almost impossible to be able to look those things up at all. But the head I do know is from Indiana Jones' Last Crusade. You can actually see this head in the background. It's just painted gold. So
that's cool.
So I do know that. But I don't know much about what the head actually is because I had no success looking it up. Did you have any success finding that anywhere?
No. That's so cool, though. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So little nod to Indiana Jones, just kind of tucked in there. Intentional or not, I don't know. But, it's in the 90s, so it's possible. So then we get to the chairs. Just like in the Echo Library, these chairs have changed since 1994. So what we're looking at here are the historic record of what these chairs were back in the day. These are antique reproductions of tapestry chairs commonly made in the late 19th, early 20th century, borrowing imagery from much older French and Flemish tapestries. This is a classic 17th to 18th century style tapestry pattern, similar to what you'd see in Aubusson or Verdure tapestries from France, often adapted later for Victorian revival furniture. Both chairs in this library are from the historicist design movement, which I was like, what is that? That's really cool. I'm going to look that up. It's basically the Victorian and Edwardian fascination with earlier European art. So we see like the revivals of stuff. That's what we're seeing here. and would have been considered luxurious, especially for a library or drawing room setting. So these chairs in particular are like the ones in Echo are just basically saying that we have a lot of money, we're going to show it off for the hotel, which it jives with everything else in the tower. The one on the left in particular has a pictorial tapestry where the chair back almost functions like a framed painting, which is why you see this woman who's kind of holding like flowers or bouquets of things, and she's framed in the design of the tapestry itself. So she has like flowing robes, and she's definitely holding something. It's possibly an allegory of like spring or flora. Women with flowers often symbolize fertility and abundance, possibly a tie into the statues also in the bookcase that you looked up last episode, Kirk, of those two women that were in like across the room. Remember how they were all holding everything? And it also could be a tie into the statues we saw outside of next to the patio in the queue. There was also those women out there, which we talked about. But it also could be one of the 9 muses, like poetry, dance, history, etc., since those were frequently woven into library drawing room furnishings. So there's a lot of things it could be.
Oh my gosh.
Hard to tell.
That is such a crazy adjective.
What?
Library. Wait, hang on. What was that phrase? It was like library, artwork, furnishing. It was
library drawing room furnishings.
Think about that. Like, could you imagine you're like, excuse me, IKEA, where is your library drawing room furnishings? Particularly tapestry artworks that look like they're framed paintings of muses?
Yeah, IKEA is not having that.
Well, they might. How do you know, dude? They probably just say it differently because it's Swedish.
That's true. It would be called something else.
It'd be called the Bjorn.
It's going to be longer than that. It'd have to be long. Come on, Kirk. Okay. Give us a long IKEA name.
That's true. There is the Svedsenkordsberg.
Very nice.
That might exist.
Yes. On top of this chair, there's also a stack of books, which we've mentioned in the previous libraries, basically just to keep people from sitting on it.
You can't sit on them, by the way.
No.
I was
try?
in this. I was for historical. Yes, I was in these pre-show rooms several times this week, and I just wanted to see like how movable are the books? Like, are they pretty sturdy? You're not getting in that chair unless you're like, you got to be on a half. You know what I'm saying?
Contort yourself into
it'd be very challenging. But like, I could totally see it makes sense as to why they would put them there, because guests would totally sit in them if they didn't have things on top.
Yeah, and they're stacked up. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-ish books, and then on top of it is what I think is a compact, like a mirror compact. If I had to guess, the only other thing it possibly could be is like a cigarette case, but it looks too small, like lengthwise.
It looks too thin.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did they have those really thin like cigarettes? You know, like the Slims back then. I don't know if they did.
Yeah, I don't know.
That'd be the only like diameter wise, but I don't know about length.
Yeah, I don't know. My cigarette history is somewhat rusty. I'm not gonna lie.
I will tell you though, they are taller than it looks in this photo. I was like shocked at how tall. Like, it's almost to the point where you wouldn't even attempt to sit in this. Like, it doesn't seem that bad, and it seems like there's a lot of space. That's not like that in real life.
Well, let me show you. This is what it actually looks like ish now. I think this is an older photo from the 2000s, but this is what the chairs changed into, which is actually very similar to the ones that we see in Echo. So I kind of wonder if they might have duplicated the chairs, the design for both libraries at that point when they replaced them. In between the chairs, there is a table that we see that's kind of an octagonal table. And there is a globe that's a terrestrial globe, which we talked about this in Echo, so I'm not going to go into detail. And in Mr. Toad, I've been doing a lot of globe talk this year. I'm just saying, it's a thing.
Trotting.
Yeah, so a terrestrial globe is essentially one that shows the Earth as the, not topography, but it just shows the land masses in Earth. And then usually they would pair it with a celestial globe that shows all of the constellations that exist. So they don't have a celestial globe in either of these libraries. They only have a terrestrial globe, which I don't know if that has any symbolism that they left out the other one. That's probably taking it a bit too far. But I'm like, we're going to head to the 5th dimension and there's a lot of stars up there. And I was like, I don't know. Take that with a grain of salt. I think that's just Kate being weird about that.
I feel like space-wise, it's one of those things where they don't really have a lot of room. And they've decided to take up the majority with either desks, chairs, and or standing bookends or ashtrays or lamps.
Mm-hmm.
So I just feel like, I mean, they could probably put like a celestial tiny one, like a zenith somewhere, but I don't know. That's a really good question.
Yeah.
Of the other items that you notice on here, there's several books. There's a room key. There are more of those, which you had went in depth. Those like little wine cups,
like enamel
then,
glasses. Yeah, cups.
And then there's a very long-handled magnifying glass. And then there's a note on the table as well.
Which I wish we had that magnifying glass to read the note, because I can't tell what it says on there. Do you have any success in reading that, Kirk?
No, but I can, next time I go back, because honestly, right now Disney is like crazy empty for the time of recording is early September. If you're ever wondering when it's consistently not busy, it's right after Labor Day when all the kids are back in school. Great time to show up here, but I'll take a photo specifically of that note for next week. We can go backwards.
We will dip our toes back into the library ever so briefly to see if we could figure it out. So then the other chair that is on the right-hand side in 1994 has another stack of books on it, what might be like an eyeglass case. It looks like it might be like an eyeglass case. It definitely looks like a shape of one. And then it also has a brown jacket, which is super dusty. And then the chair itself has a narrative medieval motif to it, reminiscent of Renaissance revival designs from the 19th century. It features a minstrel or troubadour. So somebody's going to sing you some tunes. Always think of, what's his name? The rooster from Robin Hood.
Oh, yeah, from Robin Hood.
Yeah. This man is wearing a short tunic and hose, holding a musical instrument. So thank you to my wonderful musicologist husband, Dr. Elliot Grasso of Gutenberg College, who told me that this instrument that this character is holding here is actually called a lyra da braccio, which is a Renaissance European bowed string instrument. It was used by Italian poet-musicians in court in the 15th and 16th centuries to accompany their improvised recitations of lyric and narrative poetry. It's most closely related to the medieval fiddle or vielle, and like the vielle has a leaf-shaped peg box and frontal pegs. So the pegs are basically what you use to keep the instrument in tune. It's kind of cut off in this picture. I think you can see it here. So like the pegs would be at the top. If you think of like a traditional fiddle, it would be the things that you turn to tune it. Same with a guitar, So the instrument was shaped essentially like a violin, but with a wider fingerboard and a flatter bridge. It has 7 strings, 5 of them tuned like a violin with a low D added to the bottom, with 2 strings off the fingerboard, which serve as drones, which were usually tuned in octaves. So a drone is a note that is just sustained, usually like underneath all the other notes that you're playing. Lyra was devised to accompany humanist sung verse by poets such as the 14th century Petrarch and his later imitators, and was popular in northern Italy city-states such as Florence, Ferrara, Mantua, Venice, and so on and so forth. So that's what that kind of weird-looking instrument is not.
Yeah, weird is right. How are you not going to talk about the fact that it has a chest, bro? What is that?
It has a chest.
What is that thing? That thing is like you warned my eyeballs, dude. I didn't recognize we were doing this.
That until you mentioned.
How did you not, dude? It literally has a head for like the top or the. Oh my lord.
It's weird. There's a weird shadow on this particular picture that makes it look very strange. But that one, you're right. It is. That one does.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
I think that one might be designed to look like that. I didn't even notice it till now.
Oh, you picked a weird one. That's an interesting liar you picked.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Kate's got to pay closer attention next time. So I'll go.
Yeah, I wonder if that changes the tone at all. Holy cow.
So, my apologies for the somewhat voluptuous Lyra DiBraccio. That's all I have about that chair. Kirk, do you have anything else about that one before we move on?
Let's move on from Annette Funicello.
Next to the chair, we have another standing ashtray, which we've talked about. And we talked about also the fact that this one possibly moved, or one of them possibly moved from outside in the area that was like the loading area for the libraries because it was just in the way. I don't know if this one moved though, because this is from 1994. So this one looks like it was set in here. And Kirk, do you have anything about this ashtray you want to share?
Yeah, so this would be a low pedestal standing ashtray where somebody could either obviously use this when they're in the chair, or you could potentially use it while you're standing. What is to note is that there is a half used or smoked cigar sitting at the top of this one. But this is somewhere in the 1910s, 1920. This is bronzed and it's pretty ornate. It's got leaf patterns to it. Now, and like an urn-shaped receptacle at the top. It also does have the spiraled columns in there, which matches what we've seen before throughout the library, that similar style. I found another one that was made by Alfred Dunhill. Again, it's very hard to find. Like, this is actually a pretty fantastic piece that they found because there's not a lot of ornate standing ashtrays.
Yeah.
So it's kind of unique that a tobacco stand like this would, one, be survived, and two, placed into the tower, because these are not cheap and they are very unique looking. So I think it's kind of interesting.
You know what? Not that I would ever condone taking anything out of a Disney attraction ever. Let me just clarify that. But I was thinking the other day of all the things that if you absconded with one of these items, what would be the most valuable in these libraries, because there's a lot of things that are actual antiques or really good reproductions that are very valuable.
Wouldn't it be the furniture outside in the lobby, because we know directly what that's from?
Yeah, yes, probably
that
the
would
chairs.
Probably be our best bet, but very challenging to abscond with.
But I bet in the libraries in particular, there's so many of these objects, I
don't know. You probably take something that, I'd probably take either the Invader or the Seer box, just because it's so iconic and it actually is attached to the Twilight Zone. I don't know. I feel like you would probably land similarly.
Oh, I meant if you were trying to sell
for
it.
Money? Yeah, but don't you think those would be worth something?
Yeah. Well, we know the Seer boxes, those things are not
Those things
cheap.
are expensive, even as the reproductions, they're a couple grand.
No, I was going to get one for Kirk for funsies, and I couldn't afford it. It was too much. It was out of Kate's price range. It was $500.
We need to 3D print them.
We did learn in our Mahjong episode that apparently white women like to steal Mahjong tiles. That's a whole nother thing. So go figure. Kirk learned that.
Check Kate's purse next time you're walking through. Her Loungefly might have a tile or two.
Those are probably pretty valuable. Although the whole set would be more valuable than a piece or two. Just
saying. But if you pull a Shawshank Redemption and take one tile at a time, then you can piece together the wwhole board later on.
It's true. Got it one piece at a time, like that Johnny Cash song. It didn't cost me. Do you know that one?
No.
So he I'm trying to remember what car he makes, but it's basically a song about how he works in an automobile factory as just on the assembly line, and he just takes one piece of the car home at a time, so nobody would notice that he's stealing it, and then he would just assemble the car at home with all the pieces
smart.
He stole. But
Johnny Cash gets it.
He did it over several years, and so they're trying to register the automobile at the end. They're well, what year is it? And he's it's a 49, 40. He goes lists all the years, because the parts are from every single year.
That's funny.
It's a great song.
I do like that. That's cool.
Johnny Cash. A Cadillac. Thank you, Max. Yes, it was a Cadillac. So now we're actually going to travel to the upper ledge that is above this whole area of the tables and chairs against the wall. And there's all kinds of stuff up here. Something we have seemed to learn as we went through these libraries is that there is a rhyme and reason behind the way that they're organized. Usually these are all kind of grouped together in a region of the world they came from. So I think that the first area is likely the Greek area in this particular room. Because we see on the left-hand side there, we see a man in a very manly pose, and that is actually Hercules. So he's called Heracles in Greek mythology, was a divine hero, the son of Zeus, and he's famous for his extraordinary strength and courage. I feel like we all know the story of Hercules. You can be a Disney fan and not know, but I'm still saying for sake of history here, he's best known for completing the 12 labors, a series of seemingly impossible tasks given as punishment. Over time, Hercules became a symbol of endurance, bravery, and the triumph of human will over hardship. So, that's all I have for that. And then there is this plate that's next to it, which something I looked up said that this was Play-Doh. But I did find it, actually, this actual plate and where it is located in the world. This is in the Museum of Fine Arts in Castellón, I think is how you say that, in eastern Spain. So if you really want to go visit the actual plate that's in the Tower of Terror, you can head on over to Spain and check out that plate is on display there. But next to that plate, we have some Greek pots. And I actually consulted Elliot about this too, because he teaches a lot of ancient history. And I was like, what do we know about this? What I do know is that this room in the Louvre in Paris, during a heat wave, is not air conditioned very well where these pots live. So don't go hang out there because it's really, really hot in that room. But the style of pottery is called black figure pottery, common between the 7th and 5th centuries BC. The figures and ornaments were painted on the body of the vessel using shapes and colors reminiscent of silhouettes. The delicate contours were incised into the paint before firing, and details could then be reinforced and highlighted with opaque colors, usually white and red, which is what we're seeing here. Black figure painting on vases was the first art style to give rise to a significant number of identifiable artists, which I think is really significant in art history, that this is where we start seeing artists kind of make a name for themselves. Some are known by their true names, others only by pragmatic names they were given at in the scientific literature. So red as well as black figure vases are some of the most important resources we have for mythology and iconography and for researching day-to-day ancient Greek life. So these pots are like our main way of knowing some of these stories and the way they lived their lives back then. So we've just seen a lot of these pots in here. And I also mention, I do have a theory about this particular library because on the desk across the way, they are studying porcelain pots and which ones are good on movie sets and are kind of earthquake proof. So any vases and pots we see in this room, I think might be a tie back into some of that. And I have an interesting note in our chat from GH Milan. Plato is actually a nickname because he had broad shoulders like Plateau. He's as actual royalty, should have been a king. Thank you for adding that context. That's interesting. There's also kind of like a tablet with like a embossed like horse on it with a rider. And then there's a head, like a white head, a very small one, which I think is probably likely to be the head of Athena, who's the Greek goddess of wisdom, war, strategy, and crafts. So, because I found one that's like similar, it's not the same, but this hairstyle and the, being from this area of the world tells me it's probably her, if I had to guess. And then there's also another plate that is behind it here of kind of two warriors fighting. These are two Greek soldiers. And Elliot, I asked him to take a guess at this one, and he said if he had to guess, it was probably depicting something perhaps out of the Trojan War or one of the other Greek wars, Persian or Peloponnesian. Next, we see this kind of small green urn. And then next to that looks like a dog or a lion. This is actually called a food dog or shishi, which is a guard lion. These usually come in pairs. They're symbolic sculptures of a lion and not a dog, despite its name. They originated in China and are used in Chinese Buddhism and Feng Shui. These statues are guards, essentially, to ward off evil spirits and represent prosperity and power, with the male lion often holding a ball, representing wealth and strength, and the female lion holding a cub, representing nurture or harmony. This one's not holding either. So I was like trying to figure out why that was. I kind of came up short with that. But this is funny because what it looks from the backside is the most hilarious thing ever, because I was not expecting that when you turn it around, because I'm pretty sure this is the exact same one that is in the tower, but it's definitely odd looking from the reverse side.
Okay. Thank goodness we don't see the back.
I know, right?
Holy cow, that thing's a little graphic.
It is. Apparently that's what I chose this week for pictures, so here we are.
This is quite the rumpus room.
Then next to the food dog, there is a black vase, which I kind of came up short on this one, except that it has handles that are similar to an oil jar. And so that's all I got. And then next to it is this winged creature, which is holding a knife and has crazy looking eyes. I tried to find this. I was not successful in finding like an exact replica of it. I found something that's somewhat similar in style to it. It's likely a Balinese or Indonesian wood carving of a mythological figure from either like Hindu or Balinese folklore. It seems like it's from that part of the world. It has wings that are like flame-like feathers. It's common in depictions of protective deities and spirits in Balinese temple art. It also has fierce fangs, suggesting a guardian or demon-slaying figure meant to ward off evil. The coloring is red, gold, and black, which matches typical Balinese ceremonial carvings, especially those used in temples or shrines. And so it could either be Rakshasa, which is a demon guardian, or a protective deity like Garuda was the bird-like mount of Vishnu in a more localized Balinese interpretation. So statues like this are usually placed in temples or homes to guard against malevolent spirits. For the tower, I was trying to figure out like what's going on with this, because this whole corner here, we have with the foo dog and with this, we actually have two guardians of against spirits. And I know, wasn't the dragons you talked about, Kirk, in the other one kind of serve the same purpose?
Yeah. I mean, I think all of this stuff is trying to connect us to another world and trying to keep that at bay.
Yeah.
With these guardians.
Yeah. It's definitely like foreshadowing that there's something that's going to happen to us and we're trying to protect from it.
It reminds me a lot of when you're in Everest and you're in that museum. It reminds me so much of like the Tibetan/Nepalese style, like those face masks.
Yeah.
And some of their statuing, or even how they make the Yeti look in a couple of their carvings. Very similar.
For sure.
But it makes sense. Like it's all kind of combined religious similarities.
I thought that the meaning behind it was interesting. That these ideas of these things are trying to guard us and protect us from whatever's going to happen to us later. So next to the demon creature, we do have this helmet that is sitting on there. This is a parade helmet from 1543, made of steel and gold. You can find it in the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City. This is an example of Italian Renaissance sculpture in steel, and it was made by Filippo Negroli, the leading master of embossed armor in the antique style. The embossed ornament of acanthus scrolls and inhabited by putti is inspired by classical prototypes. The reclining mermaid, which is on the front, like you can see her on the top there. Gosh, I tell you what, I did not plan on there being this much kind of interesting pictures in this episode, but apparently there is this reclining mermaid that's on the top. It holds the head of Medusa, whose stare was reputed to turn the onlooker into stone. So you can see the Medusa is kind of at the front, that face that's there, which we also see, of course, in the Haunted Mansion, one of the changing portraits there. So just really interesting, because you couldn't see that when it's way up on the shelf, that there's this like mermaid who's upside down on top of this helmet. But if you look up close, you can see it. So
that's really cool.
I also have the shield next to it. It's a Victorian era Henry II shield, hand-wrought entirely of copper and embossed and engraved throughout with classical motifs, including the victory of Hannibal over Rome in 2016 BC. So in 2016 BC, during the Second Punic War, the general from Carthage, Hannibal, achieved a decisive victory over Rome at the Battle of Cannae. I think it's Cannae. In southern Italy. I should have consulted Elliot on all of those pronunciations, so my apologies if that was not right. Using a brilliant double envelope tactic, his smaller army surrounded and destroyed much of the larger Roman force, which you can see here. So this was one of the worst defeats in Roman history. Though Hannibal lacked the resources to capture Rome itself, the battle cemented his reputation as one of history's greatest military strategists. And so that's why we see on this particular shield, we see this interlacing border also depicting gods and heroes. But that is what is on the shield, is this battle from 2016 BC. Before we move on, just want to take a quick little break to just chat about a few things that are going on at Walrus Carp and Disney Cicerone. So Kirk, what do you have going on over there this week?
I've enjoyed doing releases and like showing things that aren't even out yet. It's like my thing is doing like a little show and tell. So another breaking product, our Walrus Carp, we're doing hats for this year. He's our little vampire walrus character. And we were talking about doing like mineral wash shirts. and we had the opportunity to find this red one. And so I drew out, this is a two-sided pattern. So you can see the walrus carp character with his cape and his claws out. And then on the back side, because I just like doing the double-sided shirt so much, he shows the backside of walrus.
It looks like he's dancing. It's like disco walrus.
Yeah, dude, he's got his claws out, dude. He's ready. I think is it the cape? Is that what gives it to you?
Yes, the disco vibes.
Yeah.
It's cute though. I love it.
Yeah. So he's only been, out of all the years, that was the only one that didn't have a full character, because like we had just done heads like year 1, and then year 2 we started doing like the full body, and then year 3 is when we started doing like the two-sided prints. So we have like the Wolfman one, or Wolfman, for this year, and then I just wanted to expand upon the walrus character a little bit more. So thanks, Pax. I appreciate it, man.
It's so fun.
How about you, Kate? What's cooking?
I am slowly but surely making my way through editing the audio of A Glimmer of Pixie Dust, Finding Our Hope in the Disney Story. And I want to apologize a little bit that I really had hoped to get this out by the end of summer. That is before 2 things happened. One, I didn't realize that there were 71 tracks that I had to edit for this. My previous books have been closer to maybe 40 something. So I was like, when I actually stopped and like counted all of them, I was like, this is a massive project. So because it's not a small book, so I think it might be the longest one I've ever written. So, so it's not out yet, but I am working on it. I'm pecking away at it. And the other thing is that it's, because I wrote this book. If you don't know anything about this book, this is a nonfiction book that is for anybody who is going through a hard time or needs a little extra light in their lives, that loves Disney history. It interweaves Disney history kind of with the human experience, and in a series of curated essays and poems. So it was written in a year of my life that was extremely difficult for me, and I think that gives it a lot of depth and help and relatability. But it unfortunately also triggers my trauma. So when I edit it and hear myself read it, it's very, very difficult for me. And it usually makes it hard for me to work through my day. So I'm trying to do it in batches so I can do that as I need to. But that's why it's not out yet, is it's very long and it's very hard. So it's coming. It's just not there yet. But if you want to read it, or you want the digital version, is available on Kindle Unlimited. The book itself you can get on Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com. So
that makes a lot of sense. And listen, dude, I think that's one thing that's pretty impressive, is you're willing to. I feel like it's like cathartic to, even though you're doing it in batches, because it's a lot. I think that's it's probably helpful in some ways.
It is. It's good for me to go back and revisit it. It was hard to record. There's definitely tracks on there where I almost cried or had to stop to cry. It's a thing. And I tried to not let that bleed into the audio recording, because nobody needs to hear Kate cry on this book. But it was a very difficult year, but I learned so much and I grew so much from it. And thankfully, I'm in a beautiful new season that is just has so much light in it. And I think we need those dark seasons sometimes to really appreciate the light. So
I totally agree.
Yeah. So I'm happy to be in a happy new season. But that's why it's not out yet, but it will be on Audible. And the rest of my books are all on Audible as well already. So if you need something else to listen to in the meantime, they're all over there. Let's move on. On the table that we see on the far side here, there is another one of those lamps that's very similar to the one we saw in the Echo Library. That was a 1920s to 30s Art Nouveau slag glass lamp. We already talked a lot about slag, so I'm not going to bore you guys about that again, but that's what you're looking at there for the lamp. There's a stack of a couple books. And then there's this statue of some cherubs, some children. Kirk, do you have anything about this you can share?
I do.
Okay.
So I was able to find one that's kind of similar to this, but a lot of times, like, remember we're talking about Greece in particular is kind of that Bacchus or Bacchian kind of party revelry. There's grapes. And I never knew this, that cherubs, particularly chubby nude cherubs in Renaissance or Baroque art, are known as puto, or in the plural, they would be called putti. And in this case, They are not angel babies, but they are instead representative of revelry, abundance, victory, or love. And if you brought it into a Christian context, because there's three, it could be potentially the Holy Trinity. Although there is no specific reason or rhyme as to having three versus one versus just because we have seen statues in the other library as well that have these little puto on them, and they're just like kind of like secondary to the main figure, which would be some sort of Hellenistic design. But I was able to find one on here, and if you want to buy it, you can buy it right now for $546 for a little bronze.
That'd be a lucrative one to put in your pocket.
I guess. Hey, where are you finding the market to sell this? You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know, auction houses. I don't know. I
guess we'd have to go find out.
Stealing's bad.
Chic interiors from Cheshire.
No, that would be the most awkward thing to put in your pocket. That would not fit in my Loungefly, but nothing fits in my Loungefly, to be honest.
That's true.
Next to this statue, we have a book press, which we talked about in the other library, very similar one to the other library. This is like a Victorian, maybe 1890s-ish style cast iron bookbinder book press. And the large iron wheel on top turns a giant screw, which then flattens the books after they've been sewn together. So it's either if you're like assembling books or repairing them, if you're going to like glue the spine back on or anything like that, you would typically put a book in a press to repair it. It also holds the book while drying to ensure that it stays flat and square. This likely serves as a prop to kind of evoke the idea of like a cultivated worldly luxury. So the way of communicating this is a place of refinement where books are treasured, which is what we talked about previously. But that's what that is, in case you're wondering, like, what is this thing with this giant wheel on top? That is a book press. So there's a couple of things on these bookshelves that it's just really hard to look up because they're behind this iron, these like metal grating. So I didn't look up all of these. And of course, we're not being completionists, so we're going to just move on from those. But there is on this bookshelf that's here in the corner, kind of near the standing ashtray, there are some objects that are in the corner here. There is a horse that is a rising bronze horse, possibly Chinese. I think these are kind of like Asian artifacts, if I had to guess, because I found a horse that's very similar to that. There's also a green vase that is maybe a double elephant patinated metal vase is the closest I came to finding anything that was like that. Did you find any of those things, Kirk?
Yeah, I mean, I was able to find it. So I took this picture. This was literally like the other day. And I feel like it has more of like a goldish hue to it now. I'm assuming they probably painted it.
For the elephant?
Yeah, the elephant is no longer as dark as he is in the 90s pictures. It looks like it's wooden. So even though it's like goldish in the photo that I took, these wooden elephant figures typically came from either India or Thailand. And depending on which, they had similar iconography when it came to symbolism of elephants. Typically in Buddhism, it was a symbol of mental strength. And at the beginning of one's path to enlightenment, meaning the uncontrolled mind represented by a wild gray elephant can demolish anything in its path. But after practicing Buddhism, you are taming one's mind and strengthening the mind and become a more white elephant, which would be mighty and powerful, which has purpose. Versus, so it's like a strengthening or taming of your mind. It also deals with patience and tranquility, as the violent gray will stampede everywhere, but the white elephant has a tranquil and obedient mind. Remember, like, the whole concept of Buddhism is that all life is suffering. The cause of all suffering is desire. Once you remove suffering, once you remove desire, then you no longer are held by the trappings of suffering. So, like, the less you want, the less suffering you have. They also symbolize wisdom, knowledge, loyalty, responsibility, and perceptivity, particularly with their ears, because they listen more than they speak. They still
have a giant trunk, though. So just say
they do have a giant trunk, which is true. Also this is just, according to Hinduism, if you want to tie it into that, although this is not a Hindu god, this is not Ganesha, but Ganesha also is a symbol of new beginnings, and he has an elephant head. So you'll see Ganesha being prayed to at a Hindu wedding ceremony, particularly for the new beginning of a marriage. So there's always been some sort of Asiatic symbolism with religions, but this is more than likely Buddhist and not Hindu.
Yeah, interesting. It's funny because you said white elephant, and I was like
a party?
Yeah, like we don't think of white elephant as whatever you said it was. We think of it as kind of like a silly gift or whatever. I wonder where the etymology of that kind of went awry.
I'll tell you, the white elephant is like supposed to be nice and prestigious, and like it's like, I gave you a toilet seat. And you're like, oh great, thanks.
Exactly.
Classic America.
Very strange. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a head that is up on a block on this shelf, and I looked this up, and this is a mounted bronze head of Buddha. So your tie back to Buddhism would make sense in context with that. And then where are we going from here? I think we're going to upper ledge.
So on the left are ritual incense burners. They're tripod-like vessels with lids, handles, and stylized sometimes in animal figures, but typically the origins are China. Then you're getting a Buddhist deity in the next one, which could be the Vajrayana, or it could be Shiva or Durga. It just depends. I did find an image that looks somewhat similar, although they are not laying down. And this would be Gaian, who is the perceiver of all sounds, which refers into the way in which you hear all prayers and cries for help. So I thought that could be symbolism for representative of needing help for the people that are still stuck in the tower in this time period from 1939, or for those that are going to need help as they are stuck in the purgatory of the Twilight Zone itself. So I thought maybe that leans into it. And then the next one is going to be Buddha. Again, you covered that. It's very similar. It's on a wood block as well. It just The one thing that's to note here is that it doesn't have the elongated earlobes, which you typically get with Buddha. So it's possible that this is a Bodhisattva and not actually Buddha itself. Then to the right, though, is and does have the elongated earlobes, and that is going to be a golden upright monastic robe wearing Buddha. And then you're going to see another one of those incense burners. And then the middle section, I don't know anything about the porcelain, guys, because we covered porcelain the other day. So I was like, I feel like these are kind of covered by that porcelain figure motif that we saw. And this looks like a Chinese temple bell, although it is 2D. So I need to go back, but it kind of looks like it has like a dragonfly in the center. Yeah. And then, so it could be a kind of like a gong. You know how like they have like clappers or things, like not an actual bell, like a 3D sculpted bell with a clapper on the inside, but like something that you could like hit. Yeah. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting from this. I'm not positive, but it's more in line with a temple gong than it would be a traditional bell, if that makes sense. Yeah. So it does have a wood carved frame around the exterior. And then that's all I have about the stuff on the top.
Excellent. Thanks, Kirk.
Yep, no worries.
So then moving back down to the lower shelf, this is the last one you see before you exit the library. There are a couple of objects that are on this shelf, including a neoclassical ornamental clock with a seated figure of a Roman soldier. And the time stopped at what looked like 2:49 or 2:50, which we've talked about the clocks. The ones that are hardwired into the hotel stopped when the lightning hit the hotel at 8:05.
Get excited, pull up my picture, okay? Because I just caught it, because I knew that you'd want to geek out and look at the specific time. It is different.
It is? Okay. All right. What is it?
It looks like it's like 5:40, 5:41.
Yeah, that looks totally different than this other one.
It's completely different.
Huh. Is the figure the same? Do we know?
What figure?
The figure that's next to the clock, because he's like,
oh yeah, it's identical. It's 100% that
same clock,
exact same. Yeah, it's the same exact clock. It's
so
not
the time has
different.
changed.
Well, you notice in the picture that you have, it doesn't even have hands. The clock doesn't even have hands on it.
Yeah, that's why I was trying to guess what time it was.
Yeah, like what you were looking at is actually the mechanics, like the innards of the watch mechanism. So like your guess, although smartly put, but that's actually the inner workings of the clock.
Kate can't tell time.
Not actually the time, because the hands are missing on the 94 picture, but the one from 2025 has some hands on it. I was trying to go into this again, the same gentleman. He was like, "Why are you taking pictures of the clock?" This is a guest that was with me in Foxtrot. And I go, well, because we found out that things that were electronic or battery operated, but more likely electronic, all stopped at the same time. But yet, if they were mechanically wound, they stopped whenever the mechanics would run out.
Right.
And he was like, oh, that's weird. I'm like, well, it is the Tower of Terror, so things should be weird here, sir.
That's weird. It's cool.
I think he was
the word he's looking for is cool. That's really interesting.
I think he was really put off by everything I was doing at first, until I started adding value to his life by showing him what's from the episodes. Like, I think he didn't really care about the tower story. I think he cared about the Twilight Zone. So like once I reframed to the audience, I brought him back into the fold.
I like this comment in the chat. Jordan says, sounds like the Imagineers took a hands-on approach for one of the updates.
Yeah, that's true.
Very nice, Jordan. Love that one. So there's something else that is on this shelf, and there's like these two statues of women, topless women that are gold.
Kate really is on this whole topless thing.
I didn't choose this one. This just happened.
Sure you didn't.
Oh my gosh. Kirk, do you have anything about these particular women?
So it is a sculpted female figure supporting architectural element instead of a column or a pillar. The form dates back to ancient Greece, most famously on the Acropolis of Athens. And over time, this style is part of the Renaissance or Neoclassic. It is possible that it is a caryatid style lamp base. I couldn't find other versions of it that were similar to it, but there you go. If you like stuff like that, like Kate does, it's there.
I think it sounds so sordid. That was not what my intention.
It's your favorite, dude.
The only ones I found for this was things that look like candlesticks, but I don't think these are candlesticks because they've got something on the top. I think you're right that it's closer to like a base of a lamp that they've just not put a light bulb on, because you can see the top of it looks different.
This is a picture from the Acropolis in Athens. So you can see these like caryatids are like as support systems.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing more lamp-like structure, but these would have actually been a part of the architecture. So, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah, I did see a couple of versions where these women were like the base of like a leg of a table or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, and so I don't know if it's just like they're taken out of context for us in terms of they meant to serve another purpose. I don't think they're a leg of a table because of their base. They have like a footed base. So lamp
it's all
seems
about
most likely.
About that base. No table. I'm all about. Thank you.
The last thing we see in this room, just like the other library before we leave it, is a book stand. Now, the one that I'm showing you here is a book that we didn't actually cover it very well when we did Echo Library. So I wanted to just like kind of revisit this real quick, because this book that I'm showing you here that has pictures of some birds on it, this one in particular is in the Echo Library, or is currently in the Echo Library, because the one that we showed you guys before, there was an Echo, was like a map or like an atlas. And this one is actually birds. And thanks to our resident Distory bird expert, Rhonda, we have some info on the birds that are on this book. She said that they look most like, on the left page is a channel-billed toucan, which is a South American bird. And then the top right is a scarlet macaw, which is here. And then the bottom right is a male great spotted woodpecker. She said, what's interesting about the woodpecker is that it's found in Europe with a range that covers most of Eurasia, which is pretty neat. So thanks, Rhonda, for that. But those are the birds that you see on that open page in the Echo Library, which is the library on the left. So in case you're looking at that. We're in Foxtrot, so let's go to, did you have anything on these birds?
Time out.
Sorry.
I do.
Okay.
I actually think Rhonda's wrong.
You think Rhonda's wrong?
Guess what, bird brain? Yeah, Clyde, I think this is a red-breasted toucan. And I have a picture of a red-breasted toucan. So if you want to do a side-by-side, this is definitely the animal. So sorry, Wanda, you wrong.
She was pretty close, though. It was a toucan.
She was close. I mean, listen, it's a toucan. I mean, you know, he doesn't have any cereal next to him, but I know a toucan when I see one.
Was that?
But I definitely think if you look at that big old stripe right below its red breast, it would make perfect sense. The only thing that's wrong is that the bill is, and again, remember, this is like somebody from like probably, you know, the 17th, 18th century who saw this thing and drew it, and like, you know, how accurate and close are they going to be? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So, but yeah, I also would agree that is a scarlet macaw or a red and green macaw. That's correct. And what did you identify the woodpecker as?
The woodpecker is the male great spotted woodpecker is what Rhonda thought.
That is correct.
Be.
Yep.
There you go.
Perfect. 2 for 3 ain't bad, Rhonda.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Well, Rhonda didn't stop there, okay? Because in the Foxtrot library, we used to have another page that was open to a whole bunch of birds. So she did a little bit of research into these ones. She said it was a pretty big challenge because I gave her a picture that was not entirely easy to see. So thank you, Rhonda, for looking at this one. She said that the larger pink bird on the left-hand side is a Major Mitchell's cockatoo from Australia. These are all her guesses, so Kirk can correct her in a minute. The bird at the top middle of the book is an African gray parrot. The large red bird on the right page is another scarlet macaw from Central and South America. The two little birds at the top of the page are cockatiels from Australia. And she thinks that the bird on the lower right page is a black-headed parrot from South America. Then she said that the bird on the bottom left of the page might be a kakapo, which we've talked about before on Distory, a highly endangered nocturnal New Zealand parrot because of its oddly shaped face and beak. Now, a kakapo is the bird that is Alberta Falls' pet bird in the Jungle Cruise, which you can see this inside the Walt Disney World version. Our good friend, Imagineer Kevin Lively, was the one that kind of helped write the story for this. And so he wrote this bird into it, which is actually quite funny. It's a flightless bird. So you can hear on the radio of the Jungle Cruise, they announce, Skipper Missy asks for guests to watch their steps and not step on Kamaka, which is the name of the kakapo bird. Not step on Kamaka, pick him up, or look him in the eye. So don't do that when you're in the Jungle Cruise. And there's also a book in the Jungle Cruise that is up on the shelf that is called the Kakapo Book. And it says by Kay Lively, and that is a tribute, of course, to Kevin Lively. So just kind of a fun tie back into the Kakapo birds. Kirk, do you have anything about these birds you want to share?
So what did Rhonda say for the upper right birds? Do you remember?
The two little birds at the top right page are cockatiels.
Yeah. So cockatiels are right. These look identical, which I think is so cool. And of course, the pink cockatoo is so iconic. We actually have a pink parrot in Animal Kingdom. Sadly, it's not the Major Mitchells like you see here with the pink cockatoo, which is so cool. But then I also noticed that they have a couple of like older style like parrots that, like, I don't know if these still exist. Like these could be potentially one of these New Holland parrots, because I found one of those very similar style drawing ones.
Yeah.
But I think we nailed all the others.
Yeah.
They look pretty similar. So
Congrats, Rhonda. You did it.
I think Rhonda did it on that one.
I feel like Rhonda deserves the 1955 bell for that. She did a lot of great.
Whoa, wow.
I know. It's fancy,
not too
right?
Bad. Nicely done, Rhonda.
Thank you so much, Rhonda, for your bird expertise. We really appreciate that. She also said that the yellowish bird on the left page could be a juvenile or female red-winged parrot from Australia, but the other birds were too fuzzy for her to guess. But she did pretty great in getting those things. So
yeah, it's pretty good.
This isn't what is in the library now. What it is now, I'm pretty sure, is this book that looks like it has like a coat of arms, like with animals. I don't know if you saw this, Kirk.
I didn't actually take a picture of it.
Okay.
There's only so much. I'll be honest. I asked the cast member if I could stay in there and take more photos, and they were like, no, like, because they have to, the way they cycle it, it's completely different.
Yeah.
So it's like literally I just had to go back and back and back. And I remember I asked one of the cast members who's at like the telephone stand, hey, can I wait for Foxtrot? That I got the weirdest look in the world. They were like, what? I think I was the first person in the history of Disney guests to go, can I go to Foxtrot library? She literally gave me like a nasty, like, what's wrong with you look. I don't blame her. I get it. I deserved it.
Yeah, you should have just said the one on the right. Kind of just.
I know, but I wanted to be like specific. And so, you know, her right versus my right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's funny. But anyway, there is this book here. It's got like a coat of arms or like a shield, and then it's got like animals on either side that look like they're represent some sort of like royalty or house. You know, it's interesting because I heard somebody mention that at some point they tried to like re-theme this so that it would be like the library on the left, so the Echo Library would be like the Queen's Library, and the one on the right would be the King's Library. And I don't know how true that is, so just take that with like a grain of salt. But the only evidence I really see for that is this book. And because it does feel kind of like royal, you know? So yeah. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that somebody just made that up and decided to make it a thing, which is also possible. But that's the best guess I got for why it looks like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got one more thing.
Okay.
So I'm going to share this picture. This is like randomly behind a grate because, you know, there's all these books. It's a library, right? But a lot of the books don't actually have anything on the spine so that you could actually like read it. This one I could actually read it. So it says the Norlisk Illustration Haverjuren Levexen, which is the Norse Illustrated Encyclopedia of Horticulture. So it's about plants.
Oh, and it's in this library specifically?
It's actually, you know where that clock is that we saw the hands? It's like up above it, one section over to the left.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. But we didn't really cover any of the books because most of the books don't have real writing. They're all just kind of like obscured or just colors. But this one, actually, you could read it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So,
and it's interesting it's not in the other one because the other one features plants on the desk. So
I know. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, bro. It's in the wrong library.
Move that book. It's
no continuity.
Eternity. Josh was in our chat. He said he did get a few Foxtrot requests in 7 years, but that was to see a cast member working, not props in particular. So
yeah, but that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So, did you have anything else for this library?
No.
Did we do it?
Can we please leave
the libraries?
Can we please get out?
Exit.
Can we get out of here?
Yes, please.
Enjoy our stay, finally.
Yes. So that completes our journey through the libraries. And boy, the journey hasn't been. But gosh, we found so many things, like so many props and more Twilight Zone connections than I ever thought. Because we always see the ones like the Nick of Time and the little alien, like the, you know, maybe the Victoria West and the cracked glasses. But we saw like things beyond that, you know, of like the drawer pools that have lions from the jungle and whatnot. Like there's so many things in here that tie back to the Twilight Zone. They really put a lot of thought into what they put in here. And while it looks like a random assortment of stuff, there's a rhyme and reason behind it because it's grouped in, you know, areas of the world. First of all, there's things that are protective spirits. There's things that represent specific things. Some of it is just junk, but some of it is really storytelling for the tower itself. So just really amazing to go through this journey through all these props.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty much wraps up this episode. Kirk, do you have any final thoughts here as we wrap up?
If you're looking at Hellenistic artwork or musical instruments, make sure you double check the drape Is this thing on?
I was processing what you said.
Yeah. That's a nice way of saying keep your clothes on, kids.
Joshua is saying, the hotel will take you now. Please exit through the wall. As our
Thank gosh.
resident
Thank
bellhop.
gosh.
Thank you, Joshua, for ushering us out of the library. Thank you, Kirk, for going on this journey with me through the Antique Roadshow that is the two libraries. We hope that you guys had a lot of fun finding all of these props, and it gives you something to scavenger hunt with your families for the brief time that you're in the libraries of the Tower of Terror. Next time on Distory, we are headed into the boiler room, probably for the next 2 weeks. It doesn't seem like there's a lot in there, but there's a lot. And we love our steam appliances, steam engines, steam things here on Distory, especially after our Big Thunder Mountain series. So we're going to explore those a little bit.
There's some really, really cool artifacts. There's lots of mechanical equipment, instrumentation, valves, gauges. Oh, come
Get
on.
excited,
Let's do
kids.
it.
That's where we're
I'm
headed
in,
next.
dude. There's even tea in there.
Ooh, tea.
Tea. We'll have to spill that later.
Nah. All right. Well, thank you everybody for being with us for this episode of Distory. We hope you enjoyed exploring all of the artifacts in the library, and we'll see you next time for another episode of Distory.